Yeah, we at Epitel are developing machine learning for the detection of CNS disorders, starting off with seizures, using our very own wireless wearable EEG sensor. It's a self-contained EEG machine, has 2 gold electrodes on the bottom, attaches to the scalp with these one-piece stickers that's both an adhesive and a conductive hydrogel. No goopy gels or anything like that, and the entire system is disposable. We've effectively created the first patch for neurology. And patches have been around in different modalities for a very long time. Everyone's familiar with wireless Holter monitors and continuous glucose monitors. And we've created a system that is really meant to be used by people at home for long periods of time. And so what we see here on the left is the gold standard. Along the top row is a traditional wired EEG with 21 plus electrodes that are either in a cap form or literally super glued to your scalp. And then across the bottom is some newer technology in the what's developing as rapid response EEG. We have Zeto's offering on the left and Cerebel's headband on the right. And again, our system is meant to be easily used so that a patient can wear the system day in and day out. We don't quite have the high resolution of a 21 electrode wired system, but we can record for much, much longer. And these sensors are very easy to maintain. And if the system is being used in a hospital, it's being deployed by bedside nurses. And of course, if it's being used at home, it's the patients themselves who are managing their own recordings day in and day out. This entire system, as I'll describe today, is currently reimbursable under existing EEG CPT codes. So we have 4 FDA clearances with this technology and 2 use cases, one in the hospital and one in an outpatient ambulatory setting. In both cases, the system is using 4 sensors. 2 are placed on the forehead, 2 behind each ear. That gets us 8 electrodes, and we can create a 10-channel EEG. If it's used in the hospital, it's wirelessly transmitting to a tablet, or if it's being used at home, it's transmitting to a smartphone. In both cases, EEG isn't shown at the point of care or on the patient's phone. It's simply relayed to the cloud where we can remotely connect a neurologist, epileptologist, who will then read that EEG. We also have 2 software as a medical device, automated seizure detection software platforms. Kind of a nuance, if we're in the hospital, there's many different things that can cause a seizure, and those, whether it's traumatic brain injury or metabolic disorder, and those seizures tend to be continuous or discontinuous. There's no real start or stop to them. Whereas outside the hospital, we're looking more towards seizures in epilepsy that are called discrete self-limiting seizures. They do have a start and they do have a stop. So slightly different, 2 different approaches to that. And in both cases, we have an authorized predetermined change control plan with the FDA that allows us to improve upon our machine learning over time without having to resubmit to the FDA. It's simply a letter to file. So REMI is FDA cleared for 30 days, and the sensors themselves will actually last 14 continuous days. So first I'll talk about our in-hospital use case and then our ambulatory use case. And the premise here is that unless you live in a large city where there's a tertiary hospital, your chances of getting an EEG are pretty slim. And in fact, 3/4 of all hospitals lack the ability to get an EEG. Yet there's 10 million people who are suspect of having a seizure each year. So their only alternative is to transfer that patient to a tertiary center. And there's many different indications for use here. We're trying to determine, is a patient having a seizure? They come into the emergency department with altered mental status. Is it a seizure? Is it a stroke? Is it something else? Similar post-cardiac arrest, the Joint Commission recommends that everyone gets an EEG post-cardiac arrest because it can cause seizures and you wouldn't know it because the patient's unconscious. Okay, unless someone is having an active convulsion, and the majority of seizures are non-convulsive, your chances of seeing those events are also slim without an EEG. And recent research has shown that the vast majority of seizures go unnoticed in the emergency department because they can't get an EEG. So on the outpatient side, shifting gears, the premise here is that if someone does develop new onset epilepsy, the underlying seizure rate is only about, on average, 2 seizures a month. Yet the gold standard is a 3-day wired EEG. So your chances of actually capturing one of those events are pretty slim in 3 days. And of course, research has shown that the longer you record, the greater your chances of actually capturing those events. So a quick case study here is a mother of 2 who was having spells at home. Her neurologist prescribed to her a 3-day wired EEG, and they didn't capture an event. So they then had her go into the hospital, into the epilepsy monitoring unit for 5 days. She had to get a babysitter, she had to take off of work. Again, they didn't capture any events. She's still having these spells at home and is devastated. Her neurologist then prescribes for her Remy for 7 days, and she's literally in tears because she didn't have to take off of work, didn't have to find a babysitter for her kids, and in fact, she even took her kids to the beach during her recording session. And this is exactly what we want to happen. We want you to live your daily life, do your daily routines, and we'll be recording in the background. So the way our machine learning works is it marks events in the EEG file for the neurologist to review. And we see that here on the right. The machine will mark an event with a confidence level from low, moderate, high, and very high that the event is indeed an electrographic seizure. And sure enough, we caught 2 seizures. On day 3, we see there is a high confidence event, and this actually corresponded to the patient marked the event as their typical spell in the smartphone. So that's event shown here on the left in our 10-channel Remy montage as a seizure that she was aware of. But we also see that on day 4, there was another event, a very high confidence event, that was also confirmed as a seizure, but she didn't know about it because it literally occurred at 2:30 in the morning while she was sleeping. So now we have objective evidence that this is indeed a seizure disorder. So we launched this commercially, officially at American Epilepsy Society in December of last year. We have 1 sales rep. This is a little old. We're now up to 156 patients as of this morning. But the shape of this curve hasn't changed. What we've seen is that the majority of neurologists, epileptologists are prescribing Remy for an average of 7 days. Although we do see some 14-day sessions in there. Again, the sensors will last 14 continuous days, as well as a few shorter sessions as well. But what I'm not showing here is that even for those 14-day sessions, adherence is around 93%. So patients are enjoying wearing this for a long period of time, or at least they're adherent. We're also seeing that these neurologists are getting reimbursed, even for 14-day sessions, from Medicare, Medicaid, and private payers. So where we are today is that we are now fundraising for our Series B, our next round, to really develop that sales force. We spend a lot of our Series A time going from our first 4 founding engineers to building out our management team and our commercialization team as well. With our latest hire in Steve Pacelli as the new CEO of Epitel. And Steve comes to us from Dexcom and shares our thesis in decentralized healthcare in neurology. So this is just the beginning. Everything I've shown you here today is before someone's been diagnosed with a seizure disorder. But where I'd like to take this technology is to be able to simply count the number of seizures that a patient is having. Could we use this to titrate a medication after someone's diagnosed? Could we alert a parent or a caregiver or a loved one to an ongoing seizure and even forecast the probability of having that next seizure? And it's my vision to get this into your primary care physician's office where it becomes part of your yearly physical, where we're recording for say 10 minutes at a time during a task, and that becomes your baseline year after year after year, and we can then track your brain health over time. And so in summary, we have a wireless wearable EEG system for nearly 13 million scans per year. We have 4 FDA clearances to date that include 2 automated seizure detection software modules with predetermined change control plans. We have demonstrated that neurologists can get reimbursed for using this system both in hospital and in the outpatient ambulatory setting. And we're now raising a $30 million Series B to really be able to pour fuel on the fire and hire that sales team to take this nationally. So thank you very much for your time. Happy to answer the questions afterwards.